Okay, hi class. My name is Kyle Phipps, and I am here to present the McDonald's election campaign in Japan in early 2017. So basically, McDonald's decided to host a general burger election, and basically their campaign slogan was 12 of the fast food chain's most popular sandwiches will battle it out at the beginning of January to become the number one burger in Japan. McDonald's sales were down in the last 5 years in Japan, so executives decided to take a couple drastic measures that I'll highlight later. But their main goal was to create a campaign, which was the burger elections, to increase sales. The burger elections ran from January the 6th to the 31st of January in 2017, and basically the way it was set up was there was a red team and a blue team, like you can see in the image on the right, and they were split up into teams of six. The primaries were held from January the 6th to the 24th, and basically the sandwiches would, battle each other out. On the top portion, you can see at first the Big Mac would have gone against the double cheeseburger on the left, and on the right it was the filet o fish versus the ebi filet o fish, which is actually a Japanese specific burger. After that, the winners of each bracket would head to the final bracket, basically, and that was for 7 days from the 25th to the 31st. And eventually they would be nominated the burger president, which I thought was kind of interesting. And their presidency would be from February the 1st to the 7th. And I'll talk about the presidency a little bit later. So, three ways to vote they had in Japan. They had Twitter voting, which did not require a purchase. The barcodes on the burger boxes were an option to vote, which obviously you did have to require, to buy one of the burgers. There's be an image a little bit later, and then overall sales, which again required a purchase. So how did they do it? Basically, they mixed the old with the new. Surprisingly enough, they did have a lot of traditional media. They ended up having radio ads, print media like you see on the right, which would have been featured in McDonald's stores, a lot of billboards, which were very similar. I think I have an example of a billboard a little bit later on. Um, but basically, they used a lot of traditional media, which I found surprising. And then, of course, they did use a lot of social media, which is really, typical as what we would assume. Basically, like I said before, they did use Twitter. Not only did they use Twitter for voting, they used Twitter to um, really push out a lot of the campaign's ideas. They shared videos, they shared lots of different ways to, just really share the idea that the burger election was going on. And they actually had a really cool sweepstakes, which I thought was interesting. If you voted on Twitter, you were entered into a contest to win a 4,000 yen, which is right around $30 to $40 gift card to McDonald's, just for voting. So that was kind of cool. And I believe the girl on the left in the image is actually holding one of those gift cards. Um, and then they also used general Facebook ads. Obviously, I think that was paid media that they used, some paid Facebook advertisements to go ahead and share their ideas and share their thoughts. So basically, what they did have to do is they had to compete with Japanese culture, which I found was really interesting at the end of the day. For an American company to have to enter a culture like Japan, they automatically have to, assimilate. It's not like when something comes here, and there's potentially a culture already here that could support the base. But an American company going over to a different country really has to change. Maybe not, extremely, but they do have to tie some of their staples into the culture of there, and I think I touch on that a little bit later. So McDonald's paid close attention to the champions culture, which basically in Japan they're based on everyone likes a winner. Um, Winning is very important to the Japanese, and a quality product instead of something's considered cheap. And I know this McDonald's CEO really had highlighted on that McDonald's necessarily wasn't considered the most bang for your buck, I'll say. And a lot of the Japanese found it to be a cheap option, and they really just didn't go there. and they had struggled for a while in Japan, and a little bit later they ended up having to close quite a few stores. So basically, to counteract that, in the campaign, each burger would make a promise of free upgrades that would be during the presidency, like I said before. So for 8 days, 7 days, depending on how you count, the president, which was the best elected sandwich, got a free upgrade as a promise. So, for example, the classic Big Mac would evolve into the legendary Mega Mac with 4 patties and 4 slices of cheese, which was, kind of, I mean, that was a big deal. That's a big sandwich. So they were trying to say, okay, look, for the price of a Big Mac, you're going to get this Mega Mac, and it's going to look and taste, delicious. On the right, you have an example of one of like the billboards or a Facebook advertisement that could be customizable and that you could click on. Um, Obviously, you see the red and the blue brackets. You see these two people that are very excited to vote, and then it ends up telling you that there's 15 days left to vote as the deadline. So basically, like I said before, to go from home here in the United States to going abroad, there are some key differences. Japanese McDonald's really had to project a high quality in their restaurants. They all have sleek and stylish looks both inside and out. I noticed a lot of them almost look like they're like black onyx fronts. They're very futuristic looking. Um, so that was kind of a cool thing that they had to tie into to really get up to the technological age that is now in Tokyo and some of the Japanese cities. They have a Japanese-esque menu. They feature a teriyaki burger, a pork burger, the Mega Mac, which, spoiler, it was the winner of the election, so that is now on the menu, and it was free for those 7 days. And then a tamago burger, which is actually Japanese for egg. So they made what we would call maybe a breakfast burger, like a bacon, egg, and cheese um, in Japan, which is neat. And obviously, the advertisement for that is on the right. Portion sizes are actually much smaller. So if you take a look at your top right, those are the standard cup sizes versus U.S. and versus Japan. I thought this was particularly interesting just because if you take a look at the large, it's smaller than the United States medium, and then the kitty size is actually bigger. It's almost bigger than the medium in Japan. So that was interesting. And then I did notice that the fry portions are also smaller, but the burgers, oddly enough, tend to be either bigger or generally the same size. And the patty quality, from what I could notice in a few articles that I read, they just said that the patty quality is completely different. So basically, like I said, the burger does look like the advertisements. Obviously, when we see a Wendy's commercial or a McDonald's commercial here in the United States, our first uh, reaction is, oh, that's never going to look like that when I order it. The only one that I know that looks like the advertisements usually is Chick-fil-A. So moving on, the implementation that we talked about for McDonald's was basically, yes, they did the printed advertisements, but social media is obviously the largest player in the game today. So they really pushed, to hit a common audience. Something that I found really interesting, and I found it and I actually couldn't find it again, so I was a little disappointed, was this up at your top right. It's a video on Twitter of a American dressed up as a samurai, and he kind of jumps into the scene, and he talks about how to vote and why to vote for the teriyaki burger and how good it is. Obviously, for McDonald's, they got 1,200 likes and almost 600 retweets. So that's kind of a cool thing. And the caption is going to be a handsome foreigner claiming to be a ninja came to Japan to cheer for a burger. What's his pushing burger? And then it was actually, like I said, the teriyaki burger. So they found a way to kind of send that this is an American company, but we're coming over here to really assimilate into y'all's culture and give us a better understanding for what the Japanese people want, what they like, and the teriyaki burger, I believe, remained on the menu and is a pretty popular item over there. On your left, the top, again, is just an advertisement for the brackets and the red team versus the blue team. when you can vote, and I'm not really sure what the top says. I don't speak Japanese. Um, Something else that I found was really, kind of different was they had a point system, which is very similar to the Chick-fil-A app if you're familiar. Basically, how that works is every time you make a purchase, you earn points. And on this voting, one box, as you can see on the bottom left, is worth 100 points for your personal account. So you not only get to vote, but you get to send in a personal vote to the contest, and that's also how you would help. And then again, on your bottom right, that is the Mega Mac versus the traditional Big Mac. One thing that I would like to point out I found was very interesting and that I think I pointed out earlier. On Twitter, you did not have to make a purchase. So one recommendation that I might send to McDonald's would definitely be, why wouldn't you have kept it to sales and to the boxes? That way you give incentive to buy by earning points. On Twitter, you didn't have to buy anything, nor did anyone get any type of uh, incentive other than potentially the sweepstakes, like I said, with the gift card. So that was definitely interesting to me that they didn't just monetize it completely and switch it to the boxes and to the in-store sales tracking to really see who won the contest by who spent the money on what. So my evaluation of the entire campaign, I think the mission was accomplished. I think McDonald's did pretty well considering their weakened state in Japan before the campaign. So, according to a Statista report, and it was March of 2018, the report ran, it was a survey from January of 2018 to March, and 52.87% of Japanese people said they visited a McDonald's in 2018. And that was just in those 3 months. So that's almost 53% of people said, yes, we go to McDonald's just in those 3 months. The biggest factor in that was in the same report, 27% of Japanese people said they did not eat fast food at all. So McDonald's is really controlling a huge uh, portion of the market, and their sales in turn ended up going up 30% after the campaign, according to a different report. Their shares actually beat expectation in that year. They went from $1.44 to $1.41, or they went to $1.44 versus the expected $1.41. Excuse me. And the winner, like I said before, was the Mega Mac, and that kind of taught McDonald's, hey, we just had a realization that the people over here actually do enjoy traditional, quote unquote, American food, which was the Big Mac. And they just upgraded the Big Mac for the week and ended up sticking. And now the Mega Mac is actually an option in Japan when we don't have that here in America. So I'm not sure how popular that would be, or if they don't want to do that just because of health concerns. I'm not sure what that would look like. So basically, everybody was a winner. McDonald's Japan created a unique way to spark business. They broke away from their old tired ways. To touch on that, I actually read a long article about what the CEO had to say. The CEO was really struggling with how to handle their falling market share and their falling profitability in Japan, basically for about the last 6 years. And during that period of time, they had to close 130 stores, which is obviously, that's a big deal for her. And to keep her job, essentially, she had to come up with this campaign, and they found a way to really, switch a negative story into a positive. And one of the ways they did that was they tapped into the Japanese culture, and they really hit another thing is the Japanese and really today's culture, they love product innovation. And the way they innovated the product to make the Mega Mac and to make the Super Teriyaki Burger and really upgrade these patties is a way to say, okay, we're innovating a product we already have, but we're listening to consumers and what they want and what they need, in the sense of, you guys get to pick what we're innovating, but we're just giving you the platform. And finally, it really did improve the reputation in Japan by consolidating after they closed those 130 stores that were struggling, and they let the restaurants control the message. That was something that the CEO had really said, that the franchisees were really struggling to control the message and say, hey, we don't have a say in what we're doing. I think we would be doing better if you allowed us to control the narrative versus everything getting sent down from corporate. So I know they said that in Japan now their headquarters really are more of a guidance versus a controller. So now that's something that they're working on over there to really let locals control the message, the franchisees. So I believe that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening. McDonald's did up doing better with this campaign. I think it was something pretty cool. Thanks.